Call to order at 1800 on the dot. Do we have citizens communication?
No.
Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes from last month?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
George, thank you. Moving on to the report, discuss and consider action to approve the library board regular, I swear I'm writing this different. Friends of the library activities, apologies.
So the Friends met in May, and they continue to offer monetary support for programs. And they are finishing up the Greater Austin Reading Challenge grant with Amanda Cawthon, our head of youth services. They have decided on August for their next book sale, so keep that in mind. We also are going to occasionally pull a table out for them and put books on there that people can take and make a donation if they want to. And that is it.
All right, moving on to the director's report.
Okay, so things are looking up as far as the library goes. Is that something you're trying to get in?
Looks like we have a citizen.
It's easier to observe. Where should I sit?
Oh, yeah, please, have a seat.
I'm gonna move to the side, so I'm putting you under a microscope.
Yeah, no problem. So I have been keeping an eye on the stats, obviously, and I show that our visits to the library are very close to what they were pre-pandemic, especially now with summer reading starting and people coming back to the library, so that's very, very encouraging. We're still a little behind on our physical circulations, but I do expect those to come up as we move forward in the whole process. But we are now fully open. Programs are fully in swing in person. We still offer some virtual so people can have a choice. We do have some older people or people who work that can't always get to the program, so it's nice to give them a choice. Electronic resource circulation, definitely still great. It's still well above what it was pre-pandemic, and that's encouraging. And moving on to the narrative part, Story Walk has kicked off in Heritage Park. What Story Walk is different. They're almost signs, but they have parts of a book on them. And you can take your child through the trail on Heritage Park and read the book as you go along. Our awesome technical services, head of technical services, librarian Shermaine Burleson, has created a poster that shows tough topics and the Dewey number next to them where people can find them. And these are located in the adult area. And that's for people to be able to look for information who might be reticent to approach a librarian for that kind of information. So we just put it out there and they can go look for it. We were finalists for the IMLS National Medal. That is the highest honor that a library can get. We did not win, but if you see the three libraries, 3 museums that did win, you'll see that they were just outstanding, amazing libraries and absolutely, truly deserved the award. So we're very proud of them. And we're proud that we were finalists with them. So, Technical Services librarian David Ruano wrote his first article for the Pflugerville Flag about ways to express your creativity using library resources. So that is available online, and I believe it's in the print version also. Heritage House Museum is open again during the farmers market, and it runs Tuesdays from May 3rd through October 25th from 3 to 7. And finally, before I get to this last one, this just happened yesterday. Meg Miller, one of our adult services librarian, had a program chosen to be presented at the American Library Association Annual Conference, which is happening in DC in June. So we're very proud of her for that. And also, I have been elected to the Freedom to Read Foundation's Board of Trustees, and I'll be sworn in on June 23rd in Washington. So there's that. Before,
Congratulations.
thank you. Before we move on, last little bit on the director's report. We are in the middle of the budget process. I just wanted to let you guys know that it goes to council on the 21st, I believe, for a workshop. So that hasn't happened yet, but the budget does reflect some of the feedback we got from the library board. And hey, no problem. Emily Baron, she is the new assistant city manager, and she is over the library, and we're very happy to have her. So the budget does reflect some of the things the feedback that we got from the library board, but also the equity commission and the surveys that you guys sent out. So what we heard a lot was we want more materials, more voices in the materials, different perspectives, and marketing, that the library needed to do more marketing. So that is reflected in the budget, and I will be bringing that to the library board once it has gone through the council process. And, last thing, we have 3 applicants for the alternate position, and they will be appointed next week, I believe. It's next Tuesday at the city council meeting. One person will be appointed. If you guys want to come, you're more than welcome to come to the meeting. You are not obligated to come, but it's kind of a cool thing. So
Is that gonna start at 7 p.m.?
it starts at 7, yes.
We should encourage the people who perhaps do not get chosen as the alternate to still join as a public, part of the public, things like that, have people interested.
And and absolutely joining the Friends of the Library would be
Sure,
awesome
yeah.
too. And that is it.
Wonderful as always. All right, let's move on to the 22 and 23 5-year plan.
Okay, so the 5-year plan committee met remotely, and we're going to sort of piece this out over the next couple of months, do a couple of years at a time on the 5-year plan, so it's not so overwhelming. And what we're doing is we're looking at the Aspire 2040 portion, the library portion of the city's comprehensive plan, and we're making sure that our goals are aligned with what the city's overall goals are. And they are really, and George had a great suggestion about next time maybe doing some cross comparison or whatever between the 2 plans, so that you can see how this goal speaks to this goal in the Aspire. And I'll do that for you. Tonight we're going to look at 2022 and 2023. I had also sent you fiscal year 2024. It's available online if you don't have it. That one we are not going to talk about tonight because I didn't put it on the agenda. We'll talk about it next time. But you have it. If you need a copy, let me know, or you can just go to the library agenda page online and download it from there. I can send you guys that link too. Okay, so looking back at fiscal year 22, again, our fiscal year runs from October 1st through September 30th. So fiscal year 22 for us ends this upcoming September. So that's why the years are kind of funky. But we did meet our goals. We had a goal to replace some of the existing furniture and reface some of the service desks. We did repurpose the old reference desk that was in the back of the library up here to the greeter desk, because that desk had, it's 10 years old. It had started to peel and come apart, and it looked kind of funky. We did have that repaired, and we now have that down in the adult computer area, and it's a scanning station, so people can scan their documents at that. So we repurposed it. It is still being used. We did get a new staff desk. We have redeployed some of the older furniture in the teen space to other departments. We have some additional shelves that we put together in the adult area, and we expanded, well, we created an adult graphic novel and manga section. And then we also have some shelving that we've put up that's expanding the adult fiction and the adult nonfiction. We are still waiting on the parts to finish that because, like everything else, shipping is a nightmare right now. It was supposed to be here this month and it has not arrived yet. So hopefully this summer we'll see it. We are continuing to maintain the current facility. We have a carpet cleaning coming up at the end of the summer reading program. I figured we'll wait until that's over and have all the carpets cleaned. So, and we'll do the painting touch-ups, etc. We have some repair that we need to do to these folding doors also. So all of that will be taken care of. And any other repairs to the building. We did repair the shipping doors. There was a space underneath them that when the wind blew just right and the rain came just so, it would leak into our server room, which is not good. So we have taken care of that. As far as materials go, well, before I move on to materials, does anybody have any questions over the facility part of fiscal year 22?
It sounded like you had some specific items that might be good reflection in here. You know, like the doors to the outside, the server room, and then you were talking about the, I've already forgotten the other ones, because I was reading the next one, the regular cleaning and sealing of rubber flooring. You didn't mention that one, but then you had some other specifics. It just seems like you might want to put those in
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely.
The larger ones, you know what I mean? Like external doors seems like a pertinent thing.
Okay.
Oh, these doors, these walls is what I was thinking. That's what I forgot.
Okay.
Will this include any other things that the library is responsible for, like for instance, the Heritage House, anything that happens over there?
Yeah, the fiscal year 23 also includes some repairs to Heritage House.
Okay.
Okay, so any other questions on the facility? Under materials, addressing the current and future material needs physically and virtually. As I said, we have expanded our shelving. That is directly attributable to the survey feedback that we got. People want more stuff. So we're going to give them more stuff. We're also going to give them more e-resources. They expressed an interest in that. We did add a couple of new resources this year, and we plan to continue that into next year. The survey results, using them to assess community needs. We have not only the library board surveys that you put out, and we have just finished those 3 that will be going out this summer. But also the city does a survey, and so we look at that data also to make decisions. And again, it was very similar to what we saw in the library board surveys. People want more stuff. We're continuing to include inclusive language in our catalog entries. We are also expanding our world languages, so we'll have more materials in other languages also. Let's see, including more resources for small businesses. Daniel did that this year. He added a couple of small business electronic resources.
There you go. That's more languages.
And more technology for checkout that also has been added this year. We now have, in addition to the hotspots, we have laptops that are available for checkout. And we will continue to explore different formats, different tools that we can check out.
Maybe rephrase or something to types of technology to check out, because when I first
Okay.
read that, I thought maybe that meant you had more stands I could check out books with.
Oh, okay. We did look at different ways that we can increase our collection size, given the space restrictions that we have in the current facility. We took out the tech bar. It wasn't used very much, and that became the new graphic novel and manga collection. We also have moved the display case up here. And that has given us some room to, right now we have displays, other like material displays there, but we intend to expand out our Vietnamese and Spanish collection into that area. And that is it on materials. Does anybody have questions on that or suggestions?
I actually have a question for
Uh-huh.
Ms. Barron. She here, right?
Yeah.
Emily, I have a question on, actually on the Aspire material. Because it's a great document, and I'm happy with a lot of the goals and policies. Those guiding principles, when the city puts the factor of diverse and equitable, does the city expect numerical reporting in that regard? Or do we have to, or can we be satisfied, we the library, can we be satisfied with just expanding the universe and saying we're trying to meet diverse needs? How's city handling the accountability on diversity, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think for that, as well as all the guiding principles, it will be both. There are some where it's very easy to collect data on the tasks that we achieve. And then others are more global and you can't really pinpoint a number. And so I think you can think of it very globally and it doesn't have to be a specific number unless that's something that you already collect in a data format, and then that's how we would collect it. So we anticipate not only for that guiding principle, but for all of them, that we will gauge them in a variety of ways to say if we have achieved those goals.
Okay. All right, well, I was just curious because, in one regard, we want to do the best we can, but in the other regard, I get the sense that people are afraid to ask about things like, what do certain minority groups want? And we've been reluctant to put that kind of language in our surveys. So I'm wondering, if we're not doing that, how are we actually, if you don't have numbers, how do you know you're being accountable, is what I'm asking you. And I guess I'm looking for us, for guidance on what we can ask in these surveys. Or do we want to refrain from asking because there's a certain part of the population that doesn't like that being asked? Just honestly speaking.
Sure.
So,
And I think those
not to
are,
put you on the spot,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying.
yeah. And I think those are great questions, and I think the surveying is important, and that's how you do get feedback, so you know what to provide from the library, and the library does such a beautiful job providing a place for everyone in our community, regardless of race or gender or identity at all. And so I think that's, you can see that without the numbers, because you know who's coming
Right.
here, and the comfort level that we have, our residents have, how they speak about the library, right? That's not a number, but everyone loves coming here, they're comfortable here. But you are right that there is value in having those numbers when we ask those types of questions. I think we just need to make sure that we're always thoughtful in how we ask, and that we're consistent. And so those are things that Jennifer and I and Daniel can work on when you're looking at surveying and asking, and how do we do that moving forward.
Okay. Well, anyway, I could go on, but that's the main issue I face in looking at some of these things, and especially when we're looking at this logo of diversity here. And I know in my 2 years here that we haven't really been asking for numbers, or are you black, are you Hispanic, are you this, are you that? On the one hand, it seems presumptuous to ask, but on the other hand, it seems like that's how we hold ourselves accountable.
I don't think it's presumptuous, because every form you fill out, almost the first
Ask
question
that.
is, what race are you? And it's an
Yeah.
optional question.
Right.
You know, you can ask what sex you are or what sex you relate to. You could put those as the first two questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can discuss further, whether it's a library survey
Well, I don't
or
think-
even the
I don't-
citywide one.
I guess the overall question I'm asking is, what does the city council want in terms of accountability from us? And
As
you
a
know,
library board overall,
Not
Or
from the
from
library,
a,
From the library itself. I mean, you know, there comes a time, if the city's makeup is going to change like it seems it is, that question has to be addressed.
Yeah, I've heard, not necessarily about the library, but the Equity Commission has raised some similar questions. So maybe it's something that we work on together and talk to the Equity Commission about.
yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So moving on to marketing and programming.
Okay, so this was the big one. This is the one that, we got a lot of feedback about, I didn't know the library did that, that sort of thing. From everywhere, from the library board, from our customers, and from the Equity Commission. We didn't know the library provided that. And we do a lot of marketing, but there are still areas and people that we are not reaching. This year, this was before the last survey, so we are marketing on social media, and we're working with the communication department, and we create social media posts all the time. Where I'm going to talk a little bit about like future ideas in the fiscal year 23, but I'll go through what we're doing right now. We are creating partnerships and synergies with local organizations and institutions. Yeah. So in addition to Greater Austin Reading Coalition, we have been working a lot with Austin Travis County Public Health to assess needs in the community. Unfortunately, the last couple of months, they have been terribly understaffed and have not been able to come here. But we're hoping that once they're back to full staff, we can work with them some more. And it wouldn't be something where they had a permanent presence necessarily in the library, but they're looking to get information on what the needs are in Pflugerville so that they can decide whether or not they need to have a facility here or an information booth or whatever. In Pflugerville, not necessarily in the library. And then we partner with other organizations like the American Legion and the school and et cetera. We are always researching and applying for grants. We received a grant for the electric vehicle charging station replacement. I just heard today that they are going to start on that in July. So, yay. Hopefully the end of July, towards the end of the summer reading program. And also, we have received numerous Texas Book Festival grants, and those are generally collection grants. So that's generally money that needs to go to enhancing one of the collections that we have in the library, or creating a collection if we're missing certain materials. Expand outreach to underserved areas. We are actually working a lot with the city's GIS department to identify areas for outreach. They've got some pretty cool stuff over there, and they are able to let us know, and privacy reasons, that we would only be looking at the actual streets. We're not going to look at the names. We're not going to look at the addresses, just the streets that our customers, our guests live on. So we can see, are there areas where we're not getting people coming into the library? And then we need to go do outreach there. And there are a number of reasons why those areas may not be coming to the library. They may not have transportation. So it's all such an organic thing that when you start looking at it on that level and you start going to those areas and say, oh, wow, well, these are mostly seniors and they don't drive anymore, and, et cetera. So that will help us in the future. Do we need to really push the homebound service to this population, where we have our Friends of the Library deliver materials? Or is this a place in the future that we might want to put book lockers or a book vending machine where people can get their materials right there at their where they live? So all of that, and I've already bled into the fiscal year 23, but so it's all of that sort of thing. I was explaining to somebody today how when you talk about a service in the library, it's so interconnected with like 47 other things that you have to look at the whole and not just at the one service, because the potential for serving people could be really huge. It can be as big as you want it to be, but you need to look at that bigger picture. So there's that. We currently are resuming outreach. We've done a number of events. We did a senior conference recently at Pflugerville Community Church. And I believe that a couple of librarians have gone to some of the schools and done some outreach there. And we continue to do outreach to the people in assisted living at Heather Wild. Where are we at? We are always doing non-traditional forms of outreach. One was the senior conference. We also have done some job fairs that have gone on around the city. We may not have current openings at the library, but we always have volunteer opportunities. And also, it's just an opportunity for us to let people know what we do here. And we are going back to the Greater Austin Comic Con. We did that pre-pandemic. It's a great way to not only let people know what we do at the library, but also to network. So, we can bring people in for our own library con or presenters or, whatever. And we have already returned to in-person programs. So that is it on marketing and programming.
You say you're gonna be attending the Greater Austin Comic Con, you're gonna have a booth there?
Yes, we'll have a table there.
Very cool.
All right, anything else? Moving on to staffing?
So we were very lucky in the last year that we were allowed to create some new job titles. We didn't really create them. These jobs exist. They just didn't exist here. So that allowed us to have more organizational structure, which is really important right now, especially with Pflugerville growing the way it is and us going back into full force. If you look around the library today, it's busy. So basically, it's just creating a hierarchy in two areas of the library, and it's possibly going to expand it into 3 different areas of the library. So there's the programming, there's the technical services, and there is the service desk. So we have really 3 main areas, and I really wanted people to have opportunity in those areas to advance, and also those that were already taking a lot of responsibility on themselves in those areas, more of a supervisory responsibility to have those job titles and that recognition. And we were able to do that this year. Let's see. Our volunteer program is going strong. We have a lot of our volunteers coming back that were out during the pandemic. And we have a lot of new people coming in as volunteers. It is not back to where it was before. We had about 150 volunteers before, and now we probably have about 40 regular volunteers, although I'm not counting the volunteers for the summer. We get a big increase in the summer with the teens. So we are also partnered with Grow with Google. We've been doing that for a couple of years now. And this year we offered an internship for underrepresented youth. So that was teens, I believe it was between the ages of 16 and 19. Is that correct, Daniel?
That sounds right.
Okay. Teens from groups that are underrepresented in libraries. Libraries are very heavily female, very heavily middle-aged, and very heavily Caucasian. Yay. Me. So we wanted to expand those opportunities out to people that we don't see choosing librarianism as a profession. So we did have an intern this year, and she was amazing, and she got to see different areas of the library and different jobs within libraries, those that require an advanced degree and those that don't, but are equally as important, if not more important sometimes, than the ones that require an advanced degree. And she was given a a stipend at the end of the internship from the Friends of the Library. So it worked out very well, and we hope to do that again. And that's, oh, and the last thing, we've requested 3 additional hourly staff positions, and that's actually not accurate. We have requested 3 additional staff positions. One of them is salaried, and the other 2 are hourly. And I'll talk about those more in 22.
All right, do we have any questions?
Are we definitely gonna keep going with the internship? Cause that sounds like a great idea.
We hope to, yeah. If the Friends want to continue to sponsor it, that's something that we're hoping to do, yeah. It was a great experience for everybody involved, I think, staff included.
Sometimes learning to teach is just as important as learning to learn, you know what I mean? So that's a good skill. All right, technology.
So we're still looking at new ways of delivering services to people. We are looking at an idea of, generally, we don't email our guests unless it is something directly related to their account. However, we have been looking at the idea of people being able to opt in to an email, which would be like a newsletter or something like that, which I know Matt had suggested. So that might be one thing that we're going to do in the future. We're constantly talking to our colleagues, attending continuing education, and being aware of what's out there as far as technology goes. So we're going to continue doing that. And we're going to continue to provide technology for checkout. And I didn't put down specific formats because it could change over the next year or 2. So I just want to say, whatever's out there, we're going to try and provide it if it's what our guests need and what they want. Exploring emerging technologies. We do regular trainings on new technologies, but we also consult things like the Horizon Report. And that's a report that profiles key trends and emerging technologies. It's not, they do one for public libraries, but they also do one for school and academic, so we kind of look at all of them. Often when you're looking at the report for academic institutions, it may not be something that's relevant to us now, but it will be in 4 or 5 years. So we're always looking forward that way. Pew Research is awesome. They do a lot of research in public libraries and public education. So we look at their reports, and we belong to and attend professional trainings, and we belong to professional organizations. We are actually have done a little bit of this now, but we are utilizing more ADA technology to provide better service for our differently abled guests. So we now have the screen reading software for the blind on all of our public computers. We found one that was highly recommended, highly rated, and was free. It's open source. So our awesome IT department has made that available on all of the public computers. We have also gotten tablets for the host desk and for the checkout desk that is speech to text for our hearing impaired and deaf patrons. So that we do have someone on staff that signs. She's leaving us. She's moving to Florida though. But for our staff that doesn't sign, they can just talk into the thing, and it will type it out for our deaf patrons. We did install a new, it's called a Jamex, but I'm going to change the name of it on here. It's a coin and bill operated payment system for our prints. So that has made it a lot easier, and we now offer mobile printing, which was something that Daniel came up with during the pandemic, which was really awesome. And that is, people can send their print job to an email, and then we can print it out here at the library for them.
Very handy.
It is.
I've used it many times.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. RFID, we are we are neck deep into that right now. We are looking at 3 companies right now who offer this service, and our RFID. If you're not familiar with what RFID is, it's radio frequency identification. It's an inventory control type technology, so it's going to make doing inventory in the library, which right now requires someone to physically pull the book off the shelf, open it, scan the barcode, and go on to the next. And then once they're done, that information has to be uploaded into the catalog, and then the catalog automatically determines whether something is missing from the shelves or not. It can tell us whether something is checked out or if it's just not there, which is fine, but when you have close to 90,000 volumes, it takes a really long time, and it's something that we do continuously. What RFID will do for us is make it as simple as, depending on which one we go with and which type of scanner we use, it'll be as easy as just running the scanner across the shelves, so that you don't have to pull the thing off anymore. And it can do, some of them can do real-time uploads to the catalog, so it's instantly telling us whether or not something is missing, which is great. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a huge deal when you have people who are devoting hours to this, and I need those people to be doing other things in the library. And this technology also will make it a lot easier on our guests, because it will make checking out materials a lot faster and a lot easier. And one of the things that I'm looking at will make checking in materials a lot faster and easier for everybody, because most of it would be checked in as it went through the book drop. The media doesn't do very well with these automatic check-in book drops, but the books do. And we have 2 different slots, so we could put one on just the book one, and that would cut the time in half that I have to have somebody up here, 12 hours out of the day checking things in. Also, it will make it great if we ever end up going into another lockdown, which, hopefully not, fingers crossed, that will never happen. But if it did, it would make it instant check-in, so it doesn't hang out on somebody's account. The stuff could be checked in immediately. And whatever steps we need to take after that could happen, but it would immediately come off the guest's account. So there's a lot of things about it that I like. We're going to continue with our surveys, and I put in here that you are already working on 3. You have completed 3 surveys, and we will get together, Emily and the Equity Commission and Daniel and I will all get together and look at that and maybe add those questions that you had suggested. But those will be going out this summer. We are going to be working more with PFISD. I know that you guys had suggested a lunch, because we talked about this last time. Because of the way the school year is, we're going to do that in August. So we will let you know when that happens. And we're going to continue to offer volunteer opportunities for all skill levels. So the library is for everyone, and that includes volunteer opportunities. There is not one person that couldn't be meaningfully contributing to the library. And we have any skill level, we will have a volunteer position for them. Ongoing annual performance evaluation for the staff and the director. That just happens. And we do every year. We look at our budget. We look at the types of things that are being checked out, and we make sure that where we're spending our materials budget is where people want us to spend it. So right now, electronic materials and physical materials are pretty neck and neck. Physical materials still, well, I can't really say they still check out more than electronic, because for the past 2 years they haven't. But that was an anomaly. As far as demand goes, we're still looking at how those even out. And what we spend on our electronic is pretty close to what people are checking out, so that's good. But we'll keep an eye on that. I don't expect physical materials to ever go away. I like a book, a lot of people do. I do both, and I think that's gonna be the future, is people are gonna do both. They're gonna want some things in the physical format and some in the electronic, so. But we'll keep an eye on it. Any questions or suggestions on that? I promise fiscal year 23 won't take as long. 'Cause these are goals, not goals and what we did to meet those goals.
All right, 2023?
Okay, so, the facility, we are still, and this is kind of what we do anyway, and this is kind of what we've been doing over the past 2 years during the pandemic, but, trying to engage people both in-house and remotely now. And some of that's gonna be done probably through some of our hybrid programs. Our ESL classes is almost entirely, I think it is entirely hybrid now. So we do have people that come join online and people that come physically. We are going to hopefully, if it passes through the budget, do an RFP for space needs analysis and facility strategic planning. So what I am hoping that this needs assessment will do, and Emily, correct me if I speak out of turn here, what I hope it will do is it will look at our current facility and tell us how we can utilize this space better and more efficiently, and whether or not we need these satellites, like a book locker or a book vending machine, or another building, or an expansion. So that's what I'm hoping to get from this, is how do we use this space better? How do we make it work for as long as we need to make it work? But also, what do we need to better serve the population in the future?
I got a question for you, just on my mind because of recent events. And I guess Emily can answer this too. Has the city addressed anything regarding safety?
We have
Of
all,
facility?
and it's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah, I know.
But the city did provide us with active shooter training, and the staff does monthly active shooter drills, along with our fire and tornado
Yeah.
drills. We unfortunately do.
I was really concerned about facility access to, let's say, your person out there sees a sketchy character out in the parking lot. What can you do? Or what do you do?
Well, it's a public building.
Yeah.
If the person is not doing anything, I mean, anybody is welcome to come into the library. I don't know, I wouldn't, and it's such a hard thing because we don't want to say, okay, well, you look like you might be homeless, so we don't want you here, because we do want you here.
right,
We don't
right.
care what, you know.
Right.
And we are a library for everyone, so I don't know about somebody, if somebody's exhibiting suspicious behavior. I'll give you for example, a couple of weeks ago, I was up here, I forget why I was up here, but for whatever reason, I was up in this part of the library. And a gentleman came in and he was very flustered and he was looking around and he just was acting kind of odd. And I was just like, mental note. You know, he could just be somebody who's anxious. I don't know, but you know, mental note. And then shortly after, we had some very young ladies come up and say that that person had followed them to the library. So in those instances, and we took care of it, everything was fine. But in those instances where you have somebody who's caught your attention because of they're exhibiting some sort of suspicious behavior, and that's a really hard thing to define also,
Right.
because you have to take into account, okay, different people react differently to different things. Some people can't handle being in a crowd or even in a big open space, etc. So those are all things that you need to take into consideration. You don't want to automatically say somebody is a bad person because they're they look a certain way or they're behaving a little oddly. If I did that, then most of my staff wouldn't be. But I'm just kidding. I love my staff. But we do. We notice. We notice people, not necessarily because we're like, I'm going to keep my eye on you, George. You're up to something. But we notice people. We say hello to them. We see them, and we pay attention, particularly when we have our young people come up to us and say something, because they, at that age, that teenage age, for them to even go to an adult that they don't know and say, I'm uncomfortable, that's a big, red flag for us. Teens don't generally do that,
You
so.
know why I was asking really is not because I'm afraid of, a mass shooting or anything like that. But as libraries become more outspokenly anti-censorship, there will be certain types of people who look on libraries as liberal establishments or pro-democracy, for lack of a better term.
People have absolutely every right to come into the library. They have every right to not like what's in the library. They have every right to protest outside the library, and they have every right to film within the library. Those are their rights, and we will fight for their rights just as much as we will for people's right to read. Those are, we're not going to play favorites, but I understand what you're saying. Like, some people could just be so upset that they want to take action. We do train our staff how to deal with certain situations. Right now, we have a course on mental health that we're doing. We have had other courses on mental health, but this is particularly, it's dealing with mental health and the homeless, but also it has other components to it where you can be trained on how to break up a fight without getting punched and that sort of thing. So we do what we can with training and just being observant and having staff all over the place.
You had
But-
mentioned earlier, I think, or we had just discussed vaguely about possibly getting a social worker or somebody
Yes.
trained in social
We
work?
have talked to some of the other libraries, and we had wanted to maybe share somebody that went from library to library once a month or once a week or something, just so people knew that somebody would be here like every Wednesday from 2 to 4, and I can go see that person. That is still something that we aspire towards. But we have not worked out the logistics yet. We hoped to apply for a grant to have that. But with that particular grant, we could not, as a group, because we were not one organization, apply. But we're still working on it. Round Rock, Cedar Park, and Georgetown has a social worker already. But back to the whole thing, we are well aware that a shooting can happen anywhere. It could be a library, it could be a grocery store, it could be a movie theater, and it has been all of those things. The best I can do is make sure my staff is aware that they're alert and that they are trained. Because the library is a public building.
The staff hasn't brought up any concerns like what I just raised, have they?
Staff brings me concerns often about things that they're not comfortable with. We work through them as a group. We, again, try and train as much as possible. There are some times when my staff is concerned about their safety, sure. Yeah. And it's something that as a city grows, we're probably gonna have to address more in the future. Yeah. Okay, so back to facilities. We're also looking at getting a vendor out in the parking lot to vend coffee and little snacks and stuff like that, because I'm gonna have to take over the vending area that's here, and make it probably storage or office space. Materials, we're gonna continue to develop a diverse and inclusive collection, evaluate emerging formats, again, balance the physical and e-resources, keep abreast of trends in public libraries, and support our underrepresented communities through materials, programs, and resources. Any questions on that? Now, those material goals kind of line up with 4.9 and 4.23 on the, and I unfortunately I haven't gone through all of fiscal year 23 to line it up with this, but on the Aspire 2040, it kind of aligns with those goals.
All right, marketing and programming?
We are still working with the city public information officer to publicize library programs, et cetera. We're also looking at, and nothing is set in stone about this, but we're throwing around the idea of selling merchandise. For us, it would be a marketing thing. Obviously, we don't expect to get a lot of revenue from that, but it would be more of a marketing thing. So another department and our department are kind of working together, and nothing has been absolutely firmed up, but we're looking at it. And we're looking at the possibility of doing in-house and possibly online selling also. And it would be things like book bags and stickers. We would want it to be a wide range, price range, so that, you know, if anybody could afford it if they wanted to.
You should hold a contest for slogan.
We could.
Yeah, like Pflugerville Library, I don't know, checks it out or something.
We could, absolutely. Carl?
Is there still an effort to establish some kind of corporate sponsorship thing? for the show?
Yes. Right now, the Friends of the Library do have an option for corporate sponsorship, so that's good. I don't know where the city is on that. I know that at one point they were looking at doing one for the entire city, which makes sense because we don't want to have 15 different
Yeah.
policies. So. Staffing,
I've got a couple suggestions for the marketing.
sure.
So I had mentioned to you about maybe getting a mascot. And so that would go great with selling the merchandise, because then you could have the library's
It would,
mascot on
yeah.
the merchandise, you know?
Yeah, it's a great idea. I need to work with communications on that.
Because kids love
But it'd be-
mascots,
yeah.
you know, you could have eventually, a few years down the road, we could get a little suit for whatever animal it might be and come to story time and stuff like
We
that.
already have the ice vest to go under those suits.
Oh, yeah.
They get really hot, so we bought one of those cooling vests so that our staff didn't die.
And then the other idea I just had when I saw the story walk thing is, what if we painted a story on the sidewalk in Pfluger Park on one of the trails? If we sourced a local artist and painted like the pictures from the Hungry Caterpillar. And at the very front of it and back of it, you said, you know, you can check this book out at the Pflugerville Library. Of course, with copyright, you'd have to contact the author and see if we could get
Yeah,
permission
we'd
to
have
do
to
it.
look at like a derivative work.
Right, but I mean, it's promoting his book as well,
Yeah.
their book as well, so, you know, they might be all for it. And that would enhance, because the city was just asking about what they could do for their parks, they were asking for suggestions about their parks and stuff like that. You could have a story sidewalk, and that
Yeah.
helps the city and helps the library.
You could also, for the city, as like a trial before they went somewhere as long as the Pflugerville parks and all that, you could do that little weird mini park thing that they built by Hanover's.
Oh, yeah, the pocket
Do you see what
park.
I'm saying? Yeah, you could just do that little bit of sidewalk, because I happened to go by there the other day, and all the stuff that me and a bunch of other people contributed, like, it's all gone now, like, I guess they just revamped it already, so. It has turnover, is what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? We could do something.
Yeah.
Or you could get kids to do sidewalk chalk.
There's long stretches of the creek trail that have nothing, nobody, and they're out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I can certainly bring it up
They could
to
stamp
the
something.
parks director, and would, like you said, we need to figure out copyright. It might be something where we get a local author.
Yeah, it was
Local
just an
Pflugerville
idea I
author.
had.
That's a good idea.
It is.
And then you can like lacquer it so, you know, it'll last for many years down the road.
Was that it?
Yep.
Okay, staffing. So, like I said, I am looking at increasing our staff by 3. They're all full-time positions. One is an additional library technician 2 supervisor, and those are the ones that are in charge in the evenings and weekends. A library tech 1, and that is the step below the tech 2, obviously. And then the other one would be for an outreach and marketing coordinator. And this person would be the person who does the majority of the outreach to not only to various organizations around Pflugerville, but to neighborhoods, going out into the community and doing outreach. But also there would be the marketing component on it. So they would be the one that is putting the social media information out there. If there's a newsletter we decide to go with, that would be part of their responsibilities also. I have talked to the communications department about it, and they were cool with it, so.
You mentioned that, did you say 3 full-time, but you have 2?
Yeah, it's 3, I'm sorry.
I think one's part-time, Jen.
Is it?
Yeah, the
Okay,
library
I don't even know what my
tech.
own budget is anymore. It's been that kind of a week. There are 3 positions, let's put it that way.
All right, and then the volunteer programs, we covered teen liaisons.
Okay, so team liaisons, we are going to start in August when we meet with the PFISD librarians to really start pushing that volunteer opportunity to our teens. Moving on to technology. I mentioned already that we're going to be working with our GIS group to get better analytics on for the library on our users. We're going to implement the radio frequency identification. This is going to be layered, so and phased in. So we're going to start with the labeling of the current collection and any new collections coming in. And then we'll move on to the possibility of the book drops, the automatic check-in for the book drops. We're going to continue to see what kind of services that we can offer to our guests who are differently abled. I occasionally get people asking for materials in Braille, and we can get those for them through interlibrary loan at no charge. We don't carry them. More and more, it seems like people are going to audiobook who are sight impaired. So, you know, we maybe just need to start marketing the Texas Talking Book Program a little bit more. That is a program through the state library where people can get things sent to their home
And it's
and a device.
Fantastic volunteer organization. I worked for them for like 5 or 6 years. So you will run into my voice. But,
Wait a minute, I know that voice.
yeah.
But yeah, so that is still a program that is going strong. But we also have other things that we can offer people, like our audiobooks on CD and that sort of thing. So hopefully, we're going to continue also to make sure that our catalog and our anything that we're putting out online is ADA accessible. I don't worry about our website. We've got an amazing web mistress, and she takes care of all that. But for our own catalog and that sort of thing, we are working on that. Let's see. I have actually already talked to IT about this. They brought it to us that they would like to, at some point, and maybe not next year, but soon, have an in-house IT person for the library. Now, this person would not just be for the library. They would also work with PAWS and maybe Parks and Rec, but be housed here, so their office would be here, and that would be amazing.
But they would be a city employee, not
They would be a city
library
employee. Yeah, they would be an IT employee for that department.
All right. Evaluation and review.
So we do this already. We need to, it is about time to look at our operating hours and see if we need to, switch those up a little bit or expand them or decrease them on some days, expand them on others. So that might be something as a board we start looking at. Our library policy review, we do that every year. It is super important to look at your policies every single year. The world is changing so fast, that we need to make sure that what we're doing is the best for our community. So, I know it's tedious, but we're doing it. And one of the things that I want to look at for, the end of summer, when we start digging into the policies, is, First Amendment audit and protest rights for people. And we spoke about that a little bit earlier. We are a public institution and people are allowed to do those things. So what I would like to do is, as a board, for us to create a policy that is absolutely legal. You know, I've already sent this stuff to the city attorney to be looked at. That we are doing everything that we can to make sure that people's freedoms are not being infringed upon by the library. And I also want to have something that's pretty short and sweet so that my staff will understand that what people can and cannot do. Yes, you can film in the library. No, if a guest tells you not to film them, you can't film them because they also have rights, you know, and that sort of thing. So I want to make sure that everybody is very clear on that. It's super important. We will review some of the new promotions that we'll be doing for library programs and services as a board. And then the rest of it is annual performance, weighing the budget against our formats. And then this year I have started putting in professional standards because I want the staff in the library to be exemplary. I want them to be top tier on every box that the state, we do have standards that we have to meet with the state library. My staff is amazing and they're ready to do it. And I think that we can hit exemplary on everything. So that's what we're working towards. But we're also working towards having a presence on not just our state committees and commissions and et cetera, but also now we're looking towards having positions on committees nationally. So, you know, I encourage my staff to join some of the ALA commissions, and that could be anything from a committee that reviews books for book lists, or it could be a scholarship program committee, like Daniel chairs one for TLA. So it's those sort of professional things that I would really like them to be involved in, not just to show everybody how awesome the staff is, but to make sure that that we're kind of giving back, that we're a positive force that's sort of giving back to our professional colleagues. So there is that. And then this year also, I think it's important that we actually attend Library Legislative Day. It's actually not this year. I think that's fiscal year 23, not 22. So I think it's important, and the library board is more than welcome to go. And this is a day where librarians, library supporters show up to the Texas legislature and say, you know, this is what we need, and this is what the community needs. So it's very important. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions, complaints, concerns?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So with their on-site IT person, they just need a desk, is that all they need, or do they need storage space and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, they'll need connectivity, a desk, computer, all of that. IT department will furnish everything, I think, except for the desk itself, but that's okay, we have one.
So spaces and all that stuff's not a concern?
Space is always a concern, but if I take over the vending area and frame that out and create an office there, it is networked in there already. So it should be okay to to use it. I do need to put a window in there though, because it's kind of like a hole.
I don't know, IT people, we tend to
That's-
not want.
that's
windows.
Thank
the
you,
reason
that's what I
asked,
said.
is Server storage, hard drives, whatever else can
Yeah.
accumulate when
Mm-hmm.
when you have an IT person that's working on stuff and building things and whatever else that you require of them, so.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to consider.
Yeah, thank you. I need that sort of insider knowledge. All right.
All right, do we have any other questions, concerns? George?
No. No, I'm talking, thank you.
If you don't feel like we've gotten everything that you needed into this first 2023, please feel free to email me. I will be setting up another meeting with the committee, and we'll start working on fiscal year 24 and 25. Don't be shy. If you also think something is crazy in there, let us know. And we don't need to vote on this, I don't think, until we have a completed document, and then we can vote on the whole thing.
All right, in that case, okay.
One last thing. I noticed there was no mention of anything in regards to like Heritage House. Is there anything
Oh,
that's
I'm
going on
sorry.
with that?
I'm sorry, that, yes, that is a very good point. That needs to go into the fiscal year 23 under facilities.
Okay.
We know that Heritage House, over the past 2 years, just, since it is 113 years old or something, you leave a building for 2 years and it's just, the porch is just rotting. So we need to replace, or repair the porch. What we will need to do is, we need to, get with the Texas Historical Commission because it is a designated landmark, or designated historical site, sorry, not a landmark, it's a historical site. So we have to get approval from the Historical Commission to do renovations on that, which is fine. I have an old house and I have to do that in Georgetown with their preservation board, so it is not as scary as it sounds. We just need to let them know what needs to be done, that we're not, we have no intention of changing the structure. It's just gonna be restore and repair. And that is probably gonna be a little pricey. If you go and look at the porch, it's pretty intricately laid out, the way they laid out the boards, so, and then all of the posts need to be repaired also, and probably the steps leading up to it, so all of that outside area. And then after that, there will be a series of things that need to get done. The house needs to be scraped and painted. I think the roof is okay. I had it looked at not too long ago, but we'll get another person out there to look at it. The electrical's good. I did have an electrician come out about 2 or 3 years ago just to make sure there was no knob and tube wiring in that building, and there's not. It's all good. The foundation, we had that repaired already. There is a problem with drainage, so that needs to be addressed. So the house kind of sits in a salad bowl, like there, and that also seems to be pretty common with old houses. They just start sinking in, and so all the water runs under the house. So we need to have that addressed. So those things will be addressed.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
George seconds. So we adjourn at 19:08. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much. Again, if